Good afternoon. I am Hyunmin from S2W. I want to talk about dark web and deep web and what cyber threats exist and what kind of cyber crimes are occurring in dark web and deep web. So for the participants who don't know the company, let me introduce S2W. So we are called S2W, established in 2018. There were the recent hires, but there are 60 employees. And recently, so we completed Series B, the funding worth 12 billion won from KDB and LB investment. We are promising security startup. So I prepared this presentation slides in English because this track is called a global track. So please understand that this was written in English, but I'll try to explain this with Korean words as possible. We are called a CTI company, meaning that we are a company providing cybersecurity threat intelligence. We provide the solutions and platforms for cyber intelligence, and you can experience the value of CTI through products. And we have many analysts. That's why we can provide a good CIT, CTI, the service to clients. And for threat channels, we have a very comprehensive view. We have the CTI products as well as blockchain related solutions. And also we have product called Truth, which help detect anomalies, including the second-hand goods, fraudulent trading, and abuse cases. So we have internal data analytics solutions too. Again, so we are a CTI. So many have heard the CTI. However, I want to help you understand the CTI, cyber threat intelligence, better. So what is CTI? The threat is occurring when the intent, opportunity, and capability come together. Then, amidst this threat, what measures need to be taken? The threat intelligence needs a lot of data. We have to collect data related to threats. Then we have to process the data and analyze it. As explained by the previous speaker, we need to collect data, process it, and analyze to understand the actor's intent, target, and the behavior, or the TTP. We can then be able to identify the intent of the threat actor. We cannot just guess their intent. Our activity should be data driven, and based on the data, we have to predict intent and the target. That's the meaning of intelligence. When it comes to CTI, it consists of 6 steps throughout the CTI life cycle. The first step is planning. So what missions do we need to implement? You need to define what the missions will be accomplished in our organization. If a lot of phishing pages are created targeting our customers, we have to detect the phishing pages and take down the pages. That could be a mission. And based on the mission, we need to collect related data. So the data collection is a second step. We define what should be collected to fulfill requirements, and we have to do a planning. We have to check whether the phishing page URLs are being distributed or not. And based on the information, so we have to do something about it. And after you collect data, and the data amount is a huge, so we have to use a system to process before analyzing it. So pre-processing is the previous step, and we have to draw the meaningful intelligence out of a lot of data that we cannot manually handle. Is data is sanitized in this step and converted into a meaningful information. After the analysis, we have to involve stakeholders directly or indirectly. The target will be our boss or customers when we provide the TTP, and they will be able to get the insights immediately, and feedback is important. The stakeholders will review the final intelligent product, then they make comments based on the planning phase. So eventually, you have to cross-check with stakeholders based on their feedback. So during the planning phase, we decided to detect the phishing pages earlier than our customers. Then you have to get feedback from stakeholders, then make improvement based on the feedback. So this is the procedure. CTI Life Cycle consisting of 6 steps. I think this has been addressed by previous speakers, but CTI has 3 subcategories. First is a strategic intelligence. C-level executives and boards of directors can use this intelligence to make decisions. Operational intelligence is the second layer, and this is a very difficult part and is not properly working these days. So threat actors, TTP, is tactics and behavior and procedures. So it refers to a pattern of threat actor. Operational intelligence includes information on campaigns and higher order TTPs. The third layer is a tactical intelligence, and usually tactical intelligence is working very well. So low-level, highly perishable information supporting the SOC and incident response is called tactical intelligence. In order to manage cyber threat intelligence properly, you need to have a lot of data from the inside and outside. For example, community forum will be the very good source for threat intelligence. I'm not saying that our message boards that we usually use, so dark web and any information in the deep web will be the scope, and repository is a means like GitHub. Many customers develop and collect data from outsourcing. Then personal GitHub and SVNs are used for development, and they are not aware of the fact that their data was exposed. And however, so for the similar projects, the outsourcing companies tend to take some of the source code from the SVN. Then we have to check to make sure that this information is not leaked outside after development. And there are industry blogs, it could be e-commerce blog and other abusing blogs. These should be monitored to social network, Twitter, and technical collection. These are all the sources of a data collection. The you use OCI is a tool to draw a lot of data. Hidden messenger, so telegrams can be threats. So threats are residing outside in Discord and Telegram. A lot of corporate information is being distributed in such dark web and community sites. You have to collect as much data as possible to draw relevant data to you. Then, so how can we connect threat intelligence to dark web? And let's say that we have now understanding about CTI, and let us talk about the ransomware and account takeover to draw a connection between the dark web and in our data collection and intelligence activities. So what's the dark web? Dark web is basically an anonymity network. An anonymous network enables users to access the web while blocking any tracking or tracing of their identity. We usually use IP, but so in this kind of networks, so identity is not recorded. Tor network is the most well-known one, and ITP and others that similar. The network exists, I2P that exist, but 90% of the malicious traffic start in Tor network. It's not difficult to download the Tor browser. Like you download the Chrome browser, you can easily download Tor browser. It looks like this. The colors purple, and using this Tor browser, you only use the site name. It ends with .onion, and the address is hidden here, but it shows that this address ends with a .onion. If you copy it and try with a Chrome or other browsers, it's not working. You always need to use Tor to go to a address ending with .onion. France and Lithuania and IT, three countries are used to transfer access. However, it is not shown to the users. It is expressed as a relay. The Tor circuit actually go through countries, but eventually you need to go through this other three countries, including the other relay countries. If police successfully captures this data, but even if it's a hijack, you cannot see the details inside. You have to seize the servers located in 6 countries. You will know the identity. However, if you just press a new circuit for this site, the IP are easily changed. So the users, even or the operators, so who have the servers in the Tor network, so cannot know the identity because of the encrypted traffic that go through multiple IP. Ransomware groups take advantage of the characteristics of Tor network. These are names of darkware ransomware organizations, including Counting, Lockbit, Revel, Cloak. They infected some Korean companies. And the county is reported to infected 300 companies and Lockbit infected 200 or more companies. However, they disappear and are launched with a new name, affecting a lot more victims and accumulated a number of 2,000 companies became victims. But you may think these are small companies, but they're not. I'm going to explain that in my later slides, but these are large companies. This is the data on the victim company posted in some ransomware page. So on the left hand side is says egregor specific company. So is mentioned here if the company does not agree to pay ransom. The company files are gradually opened and the ransom level increases at that minimum. So it would be 1 billion won and it grows to 20 billion won. And who will afford this high level of payment? So hackers first find the revenue size of a companies and most ransomware organizations steal the personal information of employees, including the password containing the photos of employees. And if the person is a European employee, then they can claim that the company is in violation of a GDPR, and then you will be fined. As you're aware, the GDPR is a very hot issue, and if a revenue size and the personal information of employees are disclosed, then the company will be subject to a fine because of a violation of a GDPR. So most sensitive information is taken out, including customer information and employee information, and if the photos in the passport are disclosed, then the companies have to accept the payment request. Development. In the development field, one or two people work together. And what happens if those developers are ill-intended actors? Now, the ransomware organizations are getting larger in size. This is a ransomware organization. Typically, on top, there are ransomware panel operators and with a ransomware, they infect 100 companies, and those operators and developers develop dashboards showing the 115 companies. However, the actual acts of threats are performed by the experts in the dealing with companies and negotiating with companies. When the data is breached, in order to acquire sensitive information, they don't exploit AD server in the beginning. They compromise general PCs first. Then they target the administrator information of the active directory. So lateral movement begins, and when it happens, the required information is uploaded on the Russian hacking cloud. Once it is completely uploaded, then the ransomware is deployed. In the past, ransomware is was executed immediately. However, C2C, the communication port is opened first, and it is connected to cloud server that the organization uses. And it even has a PR unit within the ransomware organization. They publicize their achievement, and they practically conduct interviews with a journalist. They mention the privacy information of politicians, and they so both then make their hacking activities hot issues. When negotiation is successful, they have to decrypt data, but one person cannot do the decryption. So encryption and decryption are managed by a designated unit. I want to focus on the network penetration and account takeovers. It is also called the initial access. So it's the unit that first infiltrate into the network of a company, and this kind of a unit is called pen tester. This is the most problematic team, and they really love account takeovers, is account exploitation. Core members make partnership with the pen tester team. So within their organization, they may have an exclusive pen tester or they work with independent pen testers. In the Russian hacking forum, you can find the activities of pen testers. If you go there, on top, it says, I will buy any access, email on RTP. So it's a remote desktop protocol. It's a protocol that allows you to get into the company's network. And also in the Russian hacking forum, you can see the offer for EXSI access, VMware, or in virtual environment. 100 vCenters are operated. Once you have a access, then you can control all the centers. This is frequently traded in the dark web. Also, you can see the offers for shells and RDP, and this is a mostly traded information on the dark web. So you need to know how the initial access is accomplished. In dark web, many hackers are selling the data, and the number of hackers posting this kind of information will be 30 to 40,000. And let me take an example of one, the users active in the Russian hacking forum, and we try to introduce effective solutions. And in the matrix, we say that TTP is important. We have to know TTP, and we need data for TTP. And so we repeatedly say that TTPs are important, but in order to understand TTPs, we need data. So in the matrix one, this is the name of the user, and one post is uploaded, and the keywords that the hacker uses include the RDP, VAC, ID, password. So this is information related to accounts. Then at some point, so there, if a posting approaches, we need a timeline of the keywords used by the users. But we need to know during the which hours the the actors are active. These are the TTPs of threat actors. We have to collect a lot of data, the detailing activities of threat actors. When we analyze in the matrix 1 user, we can notice that more than the 20 posts that are written per month from June 2021, and Hong Kong IT company, Sweden Postem, and shipping agency. A lot of companies are mentioned by this user. And if you go to the Russian hacking group, you will know that a lot of accounts are on sale. You may think that the companies are foreign companies, but that is not the case. If you check these users' information or posting, you will know that the location is Korea and industry is auto supply. And admin access is possible. And it says RDP access is 3 servers in the network of 200 computers. You can see the revenue information. Revenue is $1 billion or 1 trillion won. Why is it public? So ransomware, the groups are interested in this kind of information, and they are checking the affordability of the companies to pay ransom. So they are targeting large companies. And they put this information on auction starting with $7,000, and users take part in the bidding. And if one person proposes a $150,000, then that person will be the winner. So with this posting, we can guess a lot of facts. This is a high revenue company, and I want to emphasize that RDP access is open even in this large company. And this is not it. Because if it's a high auction value, maybe it's not selling in 1 week. It means that you can do something about it before someone steals and purchases the data. If the RDP related information is on sale, and if you come to know that this user has a lot of critical information, then you have to do something about it. And why is it possible? It is possible because the account was breached. When you analyze the dark web, that you can divide the analysis to 2 cases. The first is a combo list sharing, and the second case is a stealer bot. When the combo list is shared, then the suggestion will be like the dump in South Korea is out on the market. Then it means that you can find the customer related information and the ID and password, and customers are listed in Excel spreadsheet. And what happens here is on this site, So you are getting information about the employee's ID and password. According to this post, there are 720 SQL injectable Korean URLs. Then you can get the guesstimation based on this information. And this is a legacy, so proposal popular in the dark web. Another popular trend is a use of a stealer bot. Stealer bot is basically a malicious code and PC. If you have used a torrent or have an experience of a bypassing the Windows authentication, then I recommend that you format your PC. Red line, the raccoon stealers are injected to Windows bypass programs as a KMS auto. So what it does is a keyboard log. So the everything you type is sent to the threat actor's PC, and the information stored in browser is stolen, including credential, user login, and ID and password. So you store your ID and password in your browser is interactive encryption, meaning that the master can recover the information with a key. Sometimes you check your password in text while using the browser. It means that it's a two-way communication, and threat actor can take all the information that you type in the browser. But the problem is a lot of people are working from home these days after the start of the pandemic, and this kind of a ID password exploitation has increased, but already your PC already was infected as you try to bypass Windows certification, then external URLs are exposed, and that kind of information is purchased by ransomware groups, and ransomware groups uses the information to exploit the external system and try to negotiate with the companies, and each company is generated a so ransomware is a profit of a 2 billion won. And password reuse is another problem. So you use the one specific password, and you may change it later on, but the users tend to reuse password, including the previous part of the previous password. Then, so it can be exposed to threat actors, and according to literature related to security, typical internet users have 25 accounts, and they cannot memorize all the passwords, so they use a pattern. And if 5 account and passwords are exposed, then with brute forcing, so a lot of combinations are tried, and within 5 attempts, hackers can have access to the user's system. And this information, when is exposed the first week of infection, is critical. So the number of stolen accounts is not important. What's important here is there is a life cycle of a breached credentials. If password has to be monitored, and from now on, so So you have to check any account breach in dark web or attackers. The old breach is not critical here. So here it's important to act within 1 week. And this should be the focus of your monitoring. Then there are a lot of ways to prevent account compromise. There are 5 points. They may be taken for granted, but we need to continue to monitor the credentials of employees and customers who that were already stolen. So check if there are any credentials of your employees or of your customers on the dark web. And please search in the dark web with a unique keyword related to your company. Third, this may sound general, but you need to raise user awareness, especially. So please tell your users that the users cannot log on with a company and employee information, and it's important to implement two-factor authentication when logging. It's more important because of working from home practices, and WAF, web application firewall, has to be implemented. In ideal intelligence, it should start with reconnaissance, and initial access and lateral movement are well managed, usually through email, security, and EDR solutions. But as previous speakers mentioned, is a passive response. It happens after a breach occurs, but we need to think from the perspective of other actors. So what information is used to have the initial access? Is it based on the leaked customer or employee data? And you need to identify what data is exposed and being disclosed. In the example of a ransomware threat, even if the company is totally irrelevant, once it is on the dark web, you have to conduct reconnaissance activities. You need to monitor. So from the reconnaissance point of view, so what we do is to collect as much as data as possible and make connections, then identify the origin. So monitor the account takeovers, check whether there has been any breach, and understand the patterns of attacks, so how the victims are created, and check whether there is an abuse case, especially the brand abuse. After the ISEC conference, so we will launch promotion campaigns for our customers, and we will help our customers to check their account information. And if you haven't received our email, please visit our website S2W homepage. Then you can use our trial solution.